Hey there, Start here. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed playing the current World of Visions event that's going on right now. I really like World of Visions a lot more than Dark Visions, even though it's basically just a reskin, mostly because most of the World of Visions events are shareable rank 1 events, and so it's a great opportunity to reserve your 10,000 lapis. You know, if you've been playing the game for a while and you've got, you know, decent units and good gear to go with those units, it's fairly reasonable to reach rank 1 in a lot of these Vision World events. Not all of them are shareable rank 1s, of course, but a lot of them are. And so, you know, it does inspire me to try a little bit more. Usually in Dark Visions, I just go for the 1 million points to get the, you know, the clear rewards, and then I basically quit after that. I don't bother, you know, shooting for high rank because the rewards just aren't worth it, in my opinion. But this is definitely worth it, and so, you know, I do my best here to try and clear everything and get rank 1. So I'm gonna just show you guys how I did it. I'm a bit lazy when it comes to these events. I like to just try and find one team to clear everything, you know, one team to rule them all, so to speak. And that's what I've done here. So I'm going to show you pretty much a core team that I use to clear. I'm only going to do 3 of the bosses, but it'll give you an idea of how I basically cleared everything. So I'm just going to do Yunalesca, of course, to show you, because she's sort of the final boss. I'll do the Spectral Keeper, and I'll do Seymour, because I know a lot of people have issues with that one with the damage mitigation that it puts up. Of course, if you have Yuna, you can avoid the damage mitigation. That makes Seymour pretty easy. But I didn't use Yuna for that one, and I'll show you how I got it done. I'm basically using the same team for everything, with almost the exact same strategy for each one, with the exception of maybe having to put in you know, a different imbue or different killer buffer on the team or something like that. Luckily, most of the bosses are weak to lightning, so that makes it really nice for Esther, because, you know, we don't have to go off element very much. Spectral Keeper is one that you do have to go off element, or rather off lightning element. And so I'll show you what I did there. We'll start with Yunalesca, though. She is the final boss, so to speak. She has the highest damage cap. It's, I think, 10.7 billion is what you have to hit. So if you hit 11 billion or higher, you have hit the damage cap. And you'll know you've hit the damage cap if you get 130,000 points for the most damage in one turn. All right, so if you've done that, then you are good to go, and you should be enjoying your rank 1. So here is the core team that I basically used for most of the bosses in this event. Didn't have to do a whole lot of switching. Like I said, just switching maybe a killer buffer. In the case of Seymour, I did have to put in a magic tank, but to cover some of the damage there. But yeah, I mean, basically Esther, Sylvie, Chizuru, and Kaktiria are on every single team that I did for every single boss. Ling is, you know, the swappable unit for killer buffs, and then Squall, you know, he's just there if you need a bit more damage to hit a higher damage cap. But on some of the lower bosses where you only have to do like 1 billion damage, you know, Squall can easily be replaced by anybody. And so this is the team that I took into Yunalesca to get the damage cap. So let's go through it. Ling is the passive provoke unit. You see she's got safety bit. That is for Seymour specifically. The nice thing about Yunalesca and Seymour is that they are both the exact same enemy type. They're both human and Reaper, and Ling has human and Reaper buffs in her kit, so Ling comes to both of those fights. But against Seymour, we do have to worry about the single target death, and so that's why she's wearing safety bit. Other than that, it's just all the passive provoke gear you can give her. Against Yunalesca, you do want to make sure that in her Brave Shift form, she has high lightning and water resist. You see, I've given her 300% lightning resist and 180% water resist. I only gave her 180% water because we've got Kaktiria on the team who provides the 150% water buff. So that makes sure that Ling is completely immune to any of the damage, elemental damage, that Yunalesca is going to throw at us. Alright, so here's the gear that I used to get her there. Nothing too crazy here, as you can see. You know, a lot of this is just like trial gear, like the Dragon's Crest and Curl headpiece, to give you some nice resistances there. And then, yeah, again, just making sure that she's at 100% passive provoke and 100% physical evasion. I did give her Sylvie's card, because Sylvie's card comes with some very nice resistances, including 50% lightning resistance. So that's very, very handy to help hit those resistances for Ling. Now Esther is just full-on damage. You know, this is kind of an Epine build. It's way overkill. You'll see that we do more than enough damage to comfortably hit the damage cap with this team. And so if you can't quite reach the specs on this build, don't worry. Like I said, this is an overkill. I just threw everything in here, you know, just so I made sure I hit the damage cap. Yeah, you don't need to reach these numbers to necessarily get rank 1 on this one. So yeah, this is just the basic gear that she has. Let's see, what are her killers again? Oh, there we go. 300 human, 300 Reaper, 300 LB damage. So we're good to go there. You will notice I started Esther in her Brave Shift form. That's because Yunalesca does a preemptive AoE lightning damage skill, and it's either physical or hybrid, I'm not sure, but either way, Esther will cover that attack, that preemptive cover, if you start her in Brave Shift with either her TMR or STMR equipped. Now you notice she's otherwise pretty naked. You have two choices. You can either just make her 100% lightning resistant, or you can give her 7-star TMR, the Storm Kickers, which make her absorb lightning damage. And so that's the easiest way. So I just gave her Storm Kickers so that she would absorb the lightning attack, the preemptive lightning attack there. And that's all you need. Sylvie is going to be hanging out in her Brave Shift form the whole time, so that's the only form I really geared for the fight. So here's the gear she's using. You see I gave her some killers. She's not going to do appreciable damage. I just kind of put these in here just to see what she could do. She does about 300 million on the burst turn, which is you know, nothing really. But this does show you some examples of some killers that are useful for this fight. So like Man-Eater Plus, Weapon Specialist gives 75% human killer. Purger of Pestilence, that's a limited one, but if you have it, it does 75% Reaper. And then I just gave her Kresnik's card for the Spirit. Alright, Squall. Yeah, so again, this is kind of overkill build for him. You don't necessarily need all of this gear. You know, of course you want Lionheart Plus on there for the static attack. I gave him Presidential Livery because, as you can see, Squall is categorized as a breaker. And so he can actually use this skill on Presidential Livery called Gallant Spirit, which boosts his limit burst by 30x. It increases the modifier by 30x. And since Squall's limit burst is an ignore defense type limit burst, it doubles that to 60x. So that brings his total modifier up to, I believe, 300 times modifier, which is pretty respectable for a Neovision Awakened unit. And then, yeah, I gave him Manly Charm. That is Laguna's TMR. If you don't have it, don't worry. It just gives him some extra flat attack and some Omni Killers, which is nice, but really don't sweat it if you don't have it. I also gave him Laguna's Vision card. You can also get this Vision card from Kiros and Ward, and you can actually now buy this Vision card in the Perma VC shop. It is available to get in there. So if you've ever pulled like a premium unit, you get them to EX1. Instead of getting that unit's Vision card, you get the Perma VC exchange coin. So you take that to the Perma VC shop, and now you can get this one. So if you use Squall a lot, but you never pulled a Laguna, you never pulled a Pierce and Ward, this one's nice because it does give Squall that extra 500 attack. Also gives him some limit burst damage, which is nice, and then just some attack percent. So it is nice on Squall if you have it. So Chizuru is not going to do too much in her normal form. She's just going to do some buffs for the team on turn 1. She'll be, you know, really you just have to worry about gearing her Brave Shift form. So again, just full on damage. And again, if you can't quite reach this build, you know, I just threw everything I could in here. If you don't quite hit these numbers, don't worry about it. I think you can still probably cap this with this team and strategy. Again, some more examples of some killers that work well for this fight. And then just her own vision card. She's actually well under the cap on both killers, I think. Yeah, 225 human and 250 Reaper. I probably could have done better on this build, to be honest with you, but this one got me, this one got me comfortably over the cap, so I didn't bother to go back and add any more killers here. Kaktiria is literally just here for breaks, so she doesn't need anything special in either form. You can ignore all this gear. You see, I didn't even bother to like change killers from whenever, whenever the last thing I used her was for. So yeah, she's literally just here for breaks and to do some chaining. All right, so let's get in here and let's see how we capped Yunalesca. All right, so here comes the AOE Thunder. So there's the absorption. Esther takes care of that, no problem. All right, first thing we're going to do is have Sylvie. We'll do Paladin's Defense. We'll do Marion's Blessing Lightning to start the lightning ramp. So that way on turn 3, we'll all have a 100% lightning amp. That'll be nice. And then we're going to have her fill up Esther's LB so she can go ahead and set up her Limit Burst field on turn 1. Okay. Esther's just going to go ahead and do that to set up the LB field. Alright, we'll have Chizuru. We'll just have her do Eastern Winds, Strong Samurai, and then come down here to do Focused Body. This is just in case Esther actually takes any physical damage. It reduces that, pretty significantly. Chances are Esther's going to evade the attack. I think she's only got 50% evade though, so 50% chance of taking a hit. Ling is just going to do disarming movements and transcendent performance. This is really all this does is just make sure she has plenty of limit burst fill for her buffs, her killer buffs on next turn. Squall can just do We Choose to Fight Back to give himself some buffs. Honestly, all of that will get overwritten by other buffs anyways. It's just to give him something to do on this turn. Kaktiria is going to Million Needle Assault for the breaks, Deadly Drought for Water Imperil, because she's going to be chaining with water, and then Armor Breaking Needles to set up the 89% defense break for everybody. Alright, so you'll notice Yunalesca does blind to anyone that hits her with physical damage. So if you're using, physical DPS on this fight, make sure they are all blind resistant, because anybody that hits her with a physical attack will get blinded as a counter. Esther is innately immune to blind, so you don't have to worry about that. Alright, Ling can now shift. And we'll have her get ready for her killers. So she's going to do Assassin Stance and Medium Stance. Alright, that's the Human and Reaper killer. Before we do the buffs though, because we just want to make sure we're not doing too much damage to Yunalesca, so we'll have Esther come down here, do Calm Before the Storm first, then Energizing Bunny, and then True Storm Brand, right? Because that will set up our Lightning Imperil, because we haven't actually imperiled Yunalesca to Lightning yet, so make sure you do that. Okay, so I'm going to have Esther go ahead and go first on that one. This way we're not doing too much damage. Alright, Ling can do the killer buffs. Sylvie can go ahead and do her LB to prep for everybody next turn. So that's going to buff everybody by 400% to all stats. Do the 250% LB buff. And also add that little modifier to everyone's LB. Kaktiria is going to shift, and she's going to buff Ling's water resistance using Thorny Teamwork. So that provides the 150% water buff. Chizuru is going to shift, and honestly, there's nothing really she needs to do on this turn. If you were using, say you had Yuna on the team in place of Squall, she could do Hymn of Faith here to boost Yuna's evoke LB. So that's something she could do on this turn, but she doesn't really need to do anything this turn, so I'm just going to do Eastern Winds again. Squall can now use Gallant Spirit. If you have Tyvis's Spirit, that also does the same thing. Alright, so now everyone's set up and ready for the burst turn on next turn. Alright, so you see the physical attack missed, and Ling resisted the magic. So, all good. Alright, so we've taken no damage at all in this fight. So, easily hit that no damage score. Even if the physical attack had landed on Esther, it wouldn't have come anywhere near enough to actually decrease your damage taken score. You can take up to, I think, 5,000 damage before you start decreasing your damage taken score. Alright, Sylvie is going to triple bolting strike. Kaktiria is going to triple bolting strike. Oh, we need to shift her first. Forgot she has no damage skills in her normal form. Alright, so shift her. And then triple bolting strike. Alright, Chizuru will LB, Esther will LB, Lone Line Squall LB, and Ling can literally just sit and watch. She doesn't need to do anything at this point. Alright, so we should be good to go. We should have all of our buffs in place. Everybody's looking good. Alright, yep, we've got our killers. Yep, humans and reapers, very good. Okay, so everybody is looking good. So we'll start Kaktiria and Sylvie to get the chain ramped up, and then we'll send off Squall, Chizuru, and Esther. Alright, and this should comfortably put us over the cap. Should get 114 hit chain, so definitely hitting the chain score. Alright, and we'll see how we did here. Alright, 12 billion, that's pretty good. Yeah, so $1 billion over the cap, easy. So yeah, if your team's not quite as strong, I think the highest I went with this team with good variance rolling was 14 billion. So yeah, definitely room to, you know, if yours aren't quite as strong, there's some room there, wiggle room. Alright, Esther did pretty well there. Alright, almost 6 billion, that was nice. Chizuru coming in with 3.3. Squall actually rolled really low. He's usually closer to 3 billion. So he rolled quite low on this one at 2.4, but that's alright. More than enough to get that damage gap there. Alright, and there's your perfect score. Too easy. Alright. So now let's go over to Seymour. Alright, just because we're basically going to follow the same pattern against Seymour with a very slight variation. You see the most damage in one turn cap is 17,000 points, which means you only need to do 1 billion. I think it's slightly over 1 billion, right? So if you did like 1.1, you're good. And that's all you need to hit the cap on Seymour. Alright, so we're going to use the same team. The only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out Squall, and I'm going to add in Beatrix, because Seymour does AoE magic damage, and so Beatrix is nice because she can cover that. She's got her own built-in mitigations. She's good to go and ready to rock and roll. But otherwise, we're basically going to follow the exact same pattern as we did last time. The only difference is we will keep Ling in her normal form on both turns 1 and 2, because remember, she's got safety bit in her normal form. And so yeah, we want to make sure that single target death attack comes on turn 2, so we want to make sure that she takes the single target death attack and nullifies that with the safety bit. I'll show you real quick. Beatrix is literally just, you know, geared for bulk. You don't need to worry about any elemental resistances, so yeah, just do whatever you see. I didn't even I didn't even really bother to fill out her build. Once you give her TMR, she pretty much does everything else herself, so she just needs to be bulky. Other than that, the builds are exactly the same. I haven't changed anything with the builds. I took Esther out of Brave Shift for this one because she doesn't need to do the auto cover. Beatrix will cover all the damage. All right, still going lightning element. You see you can do lightning or light on this one, which is nice. Again, human and reaper, just like Yunalesca. All right, let's get in there and see how we do it. All right, so the frustrating thing about Seymour for a lot of people is he does, yeah, there's the damage mitigation. All right, so I think it's like 75 or 80% or something like that. It's pretty high mitigation. So you'll notice, you know, even though we're taking pretty much the same team that just did 12 billion to Yunalesca, the damage is going to be significantly lower. I think I usually do, you know, like 2.5 or 3 billion with this team. But again, you only need to do 1 billion to hit the cap. All right, so we're pretty much going to follow the exact same pattern. All right, transcendent performance and disarming movements to get started. Beatrix will cover. Oh, do not do unrivaled drive. Nope. Cover and saintly protection. All right, Sylvie will, all right, fill up Esther's LB. Do Marion's Blessing to start the lightning amp. And we'll do Paladin's Defense, yeah? All right, Chizuru can do, again, Eastern Winds, Strong Samurai. This time she'll do Focused Spirit to reduce magic damage. That's for Beatrix to make sure she takes the least amount of damage possible. All right, I'm going to go ahead and have Esther do her LB before we do anything else, just to make sure she's not doing too much damage to Seymour. All right. Whew. Okay, so Chizuru and then Kaktiria will do her breaks. Okay. Again, Deadly Drought, because you want to make sure that her chains are dealing at least some kind of damage here. All right, armor breaking needles for the higher break. All right, there comes Beatrix. Yeah, took like nothing. All right, so again, we're going to leave Ling. So we're just going to guard Ling and Beatrix, because Ling doesn't need to do anything this turn. She needs to stay in normal form because she's got safety bit. So just have her guard. We'll do the buffs next turn. All right, Esther can now do Calm Before the Storm, Energizing Bunny, and True Storm Brand for the Imperil. And the order here is kind of important because, again, we don't want to do too much damage to Seymour. Right, you don't want to trigger any thresholds or anything like that. I don't even know if he has thresholds, but you don't want to trigger anything. So do her damage skill first before you do the Lightning Imperil. Again, Sylvie will just LB. Let's go ahead and do Esther first. Make sure we're not doing too much damage. Alright, LB, Chizuru can shift. And again, just like last time, she doesn't need to do anything here, so yeah, we'll just do Eastern Winds. Alright, Kaktiria also doesn't need to do anything here, I don't believe. Yeah, I mean, you can do Mental Breaking Needles just so Sylvie maybe does a little extra damage, if you want. If you wanted to, you could actually build Beatrix to do a Holy finisher, because Beatrix does have Holy in her kit. I didn't bother to do that, but you see she does have Holy, so you can have her do a Holy finisher. It uses all the remaining MP to then do a light finisher move, and the modifier is determined by the total amount of MP that you have. So like, for example, she's got 1,306, so the modifier would be 1,306 times modifier, which is, you know, it's not too shabby. If you want her to do comparable damage to, you know, some of the other strong units, you really want that to be like, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 MP, which you could probably do with Beatrix, but it may not be necessary. All right, Kaktiria, again, yep, we're just going to chain it up. All right, triple bolting strike, LB, and LB. We'll now shift don't forget on this one you have to wait until turn 3 to do your buffs. So don't forget to apply those buffs, Human Killer and Reaper Killer. Alright, so again, we'll start by chaining it up. And there we go, well over 100 hits on the chain. Too easy. Alright, see how much we did. 2.3, yeah, that's actually kind of a low roll for me. But still, you know, I mean, that's 1.3 billion more than we needed, so well over the cap on Seymour there. Alright, let's see. Yep, as usual, Esther leading the pack. And yeah, that's all she wrote for Seymour. Alright, there's your perfect score. Too easy. Alright, so now the last one I'm going to do is Spectral Keeper. Just to show you an example of using the same team but just swapping out the imbue. Oh, real quick, I wanted to look at, yeah, so 52,000 points. So I think the cap on this guy is only like 4 or 5 billion, and we're going to do well over that here. So now I need to switch over. So this is one where we can't really use lightning. I mean, you can, but you know, it's going to greatly reduce your damage. So I decided to go with a wind team, because Chizuru obviously likes to use wind, and so that will be handy for her. So in this case, we're actually going to shift Chizuru, because she's going to set up her self wind amp, because she has a ramping wind amp for herself only that ramps up to 100% on the third turn, and so she will be using that. And then, yeah, we brought Squall back in, because this one does a lot of physical damage, and so we will actually. I'm trying to think. I don't actually think I did bother with her wind amp, but I think I actually only did this one. I did a 2-turn strategy on this one, if I'm remembering correctly now. So I'll show you that one. All right, I'll show you the 3-turn strategy that I did. Maybe that's the smarter thing to do, or the 2-turn, because this guy was pretty easy, to be quite honest. All right, but we brought Bulwark on for the AoE wind imbue. You can also have Chizuru do a wind imbue for the team if you want. But Bulwark's good because he can provide a nice wind imbue with the Imperil and a 45% amp for the team. He also brings Avian Killer, so you notice this is Avian and Demon. So Sylvie's going to bring the Demon Killer, and Bulwark brings the Avian Killer for the team. Again, I didn't even bother to change the killers on this one. That's how squishy this boss is. So these guys all still have the exact same build as that we took into Yunalesca and Seymour. So they're honestly, they're still built for Human and Reaper. But as you can see, we're still going to hit the cap, no problem on this guy. Bulwark doesn't need anything special. No special gear here. He's just going to be hanging out in his Brave Shift form the whole time. Doesn't need anything special. Esther, you can see, is Brave Shifted. Again, she just needs her TMR or STMR to proc her auto cover, because she will be covering the damage. I gave her Runda's Shield for some reason. I guess I wanted the mitigation, maybe? I'm not really sure. But yeah, Runda's Shield is on there. Maybe that makes a difference in the damage taken. Probably not, because this boss is quite weak. Alright, so yeah, let's do this one. See how we got it done. Oh, out of energy. Not even sure how much it costs, to be honest with you. I wasn't looking. 40. Alright, plenty. Alright, let's do this. So this one's going to be I'm going to do this one in 2 turns. It's just a setup turn on turn 1, because we honestly don't need the extra bump from the LB field on this guy. If you do find you're not doing enough damage and you do want to set up the LB field, just follow the exact same pattern I showed you against Yunalesca and Seymour. Alright, so Esther is just going to go ahead and shift, We'll do Energizing Bunny, Bolting Slice, Calm Before the Storm, just to go ahead and set her up and get her ready. Alright, Chizuru is going to Eastern Winds, Strong Samurai Spirit. If you want, you could use Orochi Blade. Like, say if you didn't have Bulwark, you could use Orochi Blade to give everybody Wind Element on this turn. And then we'll come and we'll do Focus Body for the physical damage mitigation. That's for Esther, just to make sure she's not taking too much damage when she covers. Alright. Should be good to go there. Squall, he's not even going to, like, since we're doing this in 2 turns, he's not even going to get to do his Super Limit Burst. So he can honestly just, I mean, he can do whatever. All he's going to do is be chaining next turn to build up the chain for everybody. Sylvie, we'll go ahead and do Paladin's Defense. We'll do both Paladin's Defense and Offense, why not? And then Poach Demon on Esther. Alright, Bulwark will do Tempest Tempo and Pomella's Prelude for the Bird Killer. Alright, and Kaktiria will just do her usual Million Needles Assault, Deadly Drought, and Armor Breaking Needles. So all this, yeah, the strategy pretty much remains the same for everybody. Yeah, as you can see, Esther's going to take very minimal damage. Alright, and so now we're just going to set up and go. Sylvie can actually use her LB here to buff everyone's LB if you find you're not doing quite enough damage for some reason. And then triple Bolting Strike here. Alright, Bulwark can even throw in some more chaining just to keep that chain, get that chain ramp going. We'll make sure we shift. Chizuru. Alright. LB. LB. Alright. So we'll build up the chain and then, you know, let the big dogs eat. There you go. Should be well over the damage cap. Yeah, I mean, I think we only needed like 5 billion on this one, so yeah, there you go. Well overkill right there. Okay. Again, Esther leading the pack. Alright, of course she is EX3, so she's going to be leading the pack on all these clears. Alright, hopefully I'll get my Chizuru EX3 one day soon. Alright, so that's pretty much how we do it. All right, and yeah, you can use that team and that strategy to sort of, you know, mix and match against all the other bosses out there. All the rest of them, I think, have pretty low damage caps. The Ronso brothers here, you only need 1 billion to hit the cap on them, so very easy to do. The Behemoth, also, let's see, 29. So I think that's like 2 billion. So you need to do 2 billion to cap the Behemoth, which is very easy to achieve. Only thing to remember is if you do longer than 2 turns against the Behemoth, Behemoth will do an AoE death to the team. So do make sure that your team is, if you're going to go longer than 2 turns to kill this thing, make sure your team is all equipped with some death resist gear on that one, so you don't lose any points on the KO mission. And then, yeah, Sphere Morph and the Sin Spawn and Defender Z, all very squishy, and all have like only 1 or 2 billion damage to cap. Okay, so you can use pretty much the same team, just switch out your imbue and killer units. You should be good to go. All right, so I hope this was helpful to you guys, and hope you enjoyed the event. Not much else for Esther to do this week, but I've got some just kind of fun, cheeky clears that I'll be trying out throughout the week. So stay tuned for those, and I will see you guys on the other side.